All right, so I'm going to try to go through these names relatively quickly. VNOM. All right, so it's obviously had a really nice run and it's being hit. Earnings are nowhere to be seen. We've already reported those. So let's zoom in. Let's get an idea of what's going on here. All right, so they press it, really nice uptrend here, and then they break it. The 20 period had been holding the 20 and the 10 together really, and then this just looks different, and they tried and then they failed, and looks like the earnings took out a lot of people. um, Stops both under this level and under here, they ran them both ways, and let's see, down to the 100 on earnings, and then it held nicely. And then from the upside, the 20 period, the 10 was resistance. They popped it a little bit, but it was the bottom of the, or it was the top end of the range. They sold into it, sold into it. They pressed it down, and then they popped it. They held that earnings low. The 100 kept kind of creeping up, inching up, and then we have our breakout bar here. The 20 was holding it, holding it, holding it, pop, and then it released and went much higher. 20 period holding, flush. All right. So the 20 period, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. The 20 period had held, right? And then we're coming here, and maybe you're expecting the same thing, and then it breaks violently. And same thing, we're back down to the 100. So that's encouraging, because the last time we were here, it bounced, but it did take a couple months for the move to develop for the one that you wanted to be in. And one thing I don't really like, and it's not that I don't have any facts behind this other than personal observation. I don't like it when you get this big buying tail off of what could be support, and then the next day, um, this is too much separation from 28.33 down to 26.41, which is really, the level that you want to be holding, or excuse me, that you want to hold. You don't want price to go below there, but if it if it does go below there, you have too much air from where you're getting in here to where it could go. So although it could pop, the 10 day is going to be, plus it's kind of $30, so there's probably some sellers sitting there. Um, you know, let this thing kind of set up is what I would say. They picked at it here, they picked at it here, and by picking at it, I mean the buyers were picking at the lows, picking at the lows. Not much going on here, and then they picked at the lows again. And then we saw a little bit of follow through today, higher high, higher low, relative to yesterday. So constructive, yes, um, but it's a hold or watch and wait type of situation here. Um, all right, YY. This had a nice run to end the year, 2017. Um, and then 2018, it's been a different story. We had this press higher. The 10 was holding, holding, holding. A pretty violent gap down. Nice buying tail. But, I've holding this and not really expecting this the following day. You're happy if you were in here. Let's say you were riding this thing up, and who knows where you got in, but say it was 125 bucks. Even if it was a little better than that, as in lower, you get a day like this, and you're holding. Your first thoughts are, when it gets back up here, is maybe I should take profits, and that's kind of what it looks like. Is the smarter money put their orders out. The 10 then held as resistance, and we flushed down to the 100. Nice, really nice hold there, and then a nice pop above. pop above the 20, kind of held, tried to hold the 10, and you can see earnings back into the range. So this thing became range bound. Oh, come on. What the fuck? Alright. Alright, let me zoom out a little bit. This thing became range bound, but look at the ugly sell bars. Very red. And notice these last couple bars before they flushed it. So earnings came out. You definitely know stops are going to be under here. They're going to be under this low. That's for certain. And they're also, the cheap stops are going to be under here also. So they, after earnings come out, they push it down, push it into the 100, they hold it again, and then they pop it above the 10 and the 20, and then there's no follow through, and then they give it back, and then you could see the selling pressure come in, and then this big outside bar right onto the 100, like that doesn't look good. And then they flushed it, stops were triggered, sell orders were triggered to get out. And then it went through its bottoming process. Look at the 10 just acting as a ceiling. Comes to the 20, holds, pops, and then feel this. So they flush it out, they grind it lower, and then they kind of pop it above, and then they pop it again. And now the 10's holding, the 100's right here. So my thoughts are this thing needs to press higher. $100 here. Kind of want to see that hold. Want to see everything look pretty solid here. So 100-day is acting as resistance. All right, the 10 and the 100 are squeezing price down to the 10. All right, this is see it's coming to an apex, the 10 and the 100. All right, they popped it. All right, holding back down to the 10. Holding the 10, holding the 100. All right, trying. Uh-oh. So you feel that? That's the feeling of, oh, the sellers think they have a chance, right? They're breaking support, they're breaking the 10. Maybe this thing goes back down. After all, the 100-day was resistance here, our support here. Now it's resistance, and then the buyers say, nope, we're holding that 20, we're back above the 10, and then so feel the reversal, the pain that the shorts were in when they thought they were catching the beginning of a move and then literally got no follow through. And that's where the pop comes from. Is the next day you get a higher high, higher low, and then open above the 10 and above the 100, and then a breakout. So that feels good. And you see a little bit of follow through. Earnings comes out. Everyone's like shit again. However, we're back down to that level. So I think it is. It's an idea. I think you let this go a couple days. Watch the 10, but all the moving averages are right here. This could act as a nice opportunity. Give it a few days though. Or a couple days, a day. I need to see more. Obviously, 103 is support. 103.5 is some support for now. But I would be looking at potential gap close. All right, that one took a little longer than I thought. Solar Company, SEDG. This one, big move this year, and then a continuation. They popped it. Well, let's see. This was resistance here. I'm on my laptop, so it's a little different than my desktop. So this was resistance here. Resistance. They popped it. They backed down. They tried to hold it, flushed through, tested the other side, and then this is support down here. Let's zoom in a little more. So you had this You had this nice pop. They tried to hold, the buyers were here, and there's just too much airspace right here between the 10 and the 20, and the 10. I mean, they weren't even really holding that. There's even too much air pocket, right? Too much of an air pocket right here. And then we flushed. We cleared them out. We flushed below the 20. We tested the other side. Really nice ceiling right here between the moving averages, the 10s moving out down, and it's pressing. But we are down to the 100-day, which is definitely a level that can act as support. But if we look at some other, Canadian Solar, that's not something that looks fun. And First Solar, the 1 year $50. Well, the 1 year's down at $47.77, but $50. This is a lot of pain here. So SEDG, I'd be that's a watch. All right, I already marked up this one. It's clearly range bound. They press it higher, nope. Press it higher, nope. And then nope again, except for this time they flushed it through that $45 level. One thing I want to look at is, let's see. I like this where they pressed it higher and they couldn't really make any progress, and it took a while. After earnings came, we had this big indecisive bar on earnings, and then they kept just creeping it up. And you see the 10 and the 20. That's something where you can, if price is acting like this, where they're buying every little dip, you can place your stop basically below the 20 and expect some momentum to the upside. So that's kind of what we got there. And then they took it higher. They couldn't hold it. They flushed it, and this thing hasn't shown anything yet. We're holding a little bit here, but this is a little bit of a painful chart. Probably needs a little more time. The 10 is still pretty far away from price. We closed at 40, and the 10's at 49. So over 20% higher is the 10, which you would think is like, okay, that's a good amount of room to try to make money, but it hasn't shown anything to it. Still lower highs, lower lows. Today was an inside day, so be careful. Maybe one of those things where if it clears this cluster here, if it cleared 42.60, 42.70, whatever, especially on a closing basis, maybe it's worth taking it for a little run. SUPN. All right, this one had a really nice run post earnings. 10 held, 10 held, 10 held. A little too much air right there, couldn't hold, and now you have selling on the other side of the 10 and the 20. Back down to support though. So I'm sure some stop orders are building below here. That's something to be mindful of. 3 red bars in a row. I would, again, this is a kind of wait and see. I definitely wouldn't be looking to buy here. Not yet. Needs a lot more information. I do team. This one's had a nice little uptrend. The 20 period moving average, this is the first time it's been relevant since really back in February. I guess it was a little bit here in April, but it didn't really matter much at the end of April until we got on the other side of it. Then they started holding it, but this isn't a good looking down day. Support is clearly down here. That's where they have been picking it up. We'll see if the 20-day wants to hold. Uh, One thing is, it did make a new high yesterday, so that's something that's positive. But let's see. It's down 6% on the day, so that takes some time to work off. I think that's it. Yeah, we did that one. So yeah, overall the S&P. The S&P is still doing this like grind higher. Also, the point of control in the SPY is moved up. So we had that nice 1 day bounce on that, almost off that 1 year point of control. It was off the 100. That was surely nice. And NASDAQ was a little weak today, but that's coming off a new high, so it can be a little expected. And then the YM, the Dow, that one looks good too, where you just had this, you had this triangle pattern. Don't forget about it. All right, you had this triangle pattern. They broke it. They tested the breakout level essentially, and the 1 year point of control. That's a pretty damn good base. Like the setup doesn't get much better looking than that. Now I don't know if it's going to follow through, if we're going to go back to the highs, but I wouldn't take 26,000 off your radar. The value area high. It's also like where we literally fell off the cliff, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a melt up towards there. Volatility index just keeps, anytime it pops, it's been a sell. Especially about that 100-day, that was a nice sell. And I wanted to show, EWZ, free falling. All right, so this is actually a really nice tail. Now we want to see follow through. Ultimately, we want to retest this 35 level, and let's quit fucking around. Let's do it tomorrow. So that's really it. We don't have to go through anything else. Oil bounced off the 100-day. Let's see, that's the NASDAQ. It came out of that diamond pattern and just exploded. I mean, the 10 and the 20, it was just a launching ramp for this week, it was a really nice trade. And, we took profits right at the high today, and now we're preparing ourselves for next week. EWZ will be our bonus for the end of week. Hopefully we get, I would love a dollar move higher than that tomorrow, but I mean, I'm hoping, of course. So anyways, yeah, let's keep these names on the watch list and go from there.